Hey, is it Tuesday already? Well, good afternoon. I'm Tom, and here we are back at the Tuesday Talk. Got a few things to talk about today. First of all, I want to once again welcome our Right from the Start Medicaid unit that is rejoining us from the Department of Community Health. About 260 folks in that unit. They're going to come over as a unit, continue to do the good work that they've been doing and getting this type of benefit to people who need them, as well as really doing a lot of community outreach with our providers, with folks who need assistance, to make sure that we are out in the community where people need us to be, and making sure that families get right from the start Medicaid, especially those young mothers and their babies who need that assistance. We have had a great little chat with them this morning, had a webinar, Commissioner Frank Berry and I did, and we'll be making some road trips to go and visit them around the state in the next week or so. So just if you see one of the RSM folks, welcome them back to the fold. As I told them, it's going to be just like what they've been doing. The only thing that's really going to change is their email address will now have dhs.ga.gov instead of dch.ga.gov. Also, we had this hurricane that came through, Hurricane Dorian, and fortunately it didn't hit us too badly, but we did have some folks, especially down in South Georgia, Southeast Georgia, who were without power for an extended period of time. And for those individuals, we're able to offer replacement food stamp benefits if they lost power for more than 4 hours, so they can replace any food that may have been lost during that time when their power was out. Those folks can just check with their county office, and we can process those, and I appreciate all of y'all's help in getting those replacement benefits out quickly. Speaking of good things hitting the coast, Savannah this past weekend was the site of one of our iWork opportunities. We had, working with the city of Savannah, we had about 50 different providers of nonprofits, organizations that work with to help people find jobs, educational opportunities, fatherhood program, many organizations that were there to help folks understand how they can move from a state of dependence to a state of self-sufficiency with our help and with the help of these organizations. And I understand we were able to work with about 50 families this weekend doing that. On the child welfare side, it is, of course, we have Kinship Month this month, and as part of that, we are having a full-day seminar for kin caregivers out at Stone Mountain at the Evergreen Marriott Resort. It's totally free. Transportation is provided, food, meals, childcare, and it's part of our efforts to help those who are caring for their kin, caring for children who are related to them, to know that we want to support them in that work and want to make their job as effective as possible so these children can get what they need, and we can perhaps get them in a more permanent situation as time goes on. Also, this past week we had a couple of interesting events that I participated in. One was the Prevent Child Abuse Georgia annual conference. It's always a great conference, really, especially with our friends at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and PCA Georgia and other organizations that are highly involved in the early intervention we need to do to make sure that children are seen regularly for medical checkups, that we're checking on them to make sure they're not being abused or neglected, to make sure that they're getting the services and the assistance they need from a very early age. So it's great to be a part of that. It reminded me that one of the most important things we do as an agency on the child welfare side is making sure that children have a secure adult, either a parent or another close caregiver to whom they can attach, a reliable, responsible, caring adult in whom they can place their deserved trust and confidence. And that's what helps children to grow up to be what God intended them to be. The other thing I really had a fun time doing this past Friday is, we work, of course, not as an agency, just as an agency, but we work with our courts, we work with attorneys, we work with guardians ad litem and CASA program. And so I had the opportunity to go and spend some time this weekend with our group of Georgia certified child welfare law specialist attorneys, and spoke with them a lot about what it means that when we are, or what we're looking at really when we're looking at a child who may be in danger, who may need to be removed from the home. And we talked about some of the options we had, especially with our new Family First Prevention Services Act and with our new House Bill 472. These two legal changes will give us greater opportunity to create a spectrum or a continuum of care for those families, so that instead of simply doing an agency-only case where we provide family preservation services for a family, for example, or only or just taking the other side and removing the child to foster care, we can do really a spectrum of things, everything from having the child temporarily placed with a relative, to having court oversight and having court protective orders, to having, of course, placement in foster care, but also thinking about how we can avoid the unnecessary use of foster care, and how, when it's appropriate, we can return children home as soon as it is safe to do so. And I did a PowerPoint for this group and sort of talked about what many of you have been involved in, which is our pre-teen consultations, and about how getting together within our agency and with our stakeholders before we ever remove a child, and really discussing what the options can be for perhaps keeping that child in his home, or at least in his or her own community, how we can really benefit a child in that way. Ramirez is going to post the PowerPoint I used. I hope you'll take a look at it. I think it's fairly self-explanatory and kind of tells you my ideas along these lines. But if you have any questions about the preteen consultation process, or about how House Bill 472 and the Family First Prevention Services Act will help us expand our continuum of services in conjunction with our work with the courts, please let me know. I know that was a lot in a few short minutes, but I hope y'all are having a great week. I hope you continue to have a good week. It's 90-something degrees out there right now, but they tell me that Thursday and Friday it's going to be in the 50s and 60s in the morning, and I can't wait. Happy fall.